Well, joining us now is Martin Imbleau, the CEO of the Federal High Frequency Rail Team. Monsieur Imbleau, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Now, what you're looking at may incorporate high speed, but currently high frequency rail seems to be the real priority right now. What's the difference here?
Well, actually, it's not the prime objective. The objectives are threefold. So now there's an opposition between frequency and speed that I really don't like, because this project is all about three things. It's being faster. Of course, it's mandatory. It's being more reliable, and it's being more frequent. So frequency is important because we will double the number of services, but also more reliable and having dedicated tracks, but also much faster, because the requirement of the development is to be able to reach 200 kilometers per hour, but also to have options that are faster than this. So the overall journey time will be reduced in all the segments for sure.
Okay, so overall journey time, you say, will be reduced, but it seems to be, if it's high frequency, it will be reduced much more. But if we're looking, high speed, but if we're looking at high frequency, we're looking about an hour here, an hour there. And with that in mind, I do wonder, is it worth the investment? You know, the former transport minister estimated it would cost between, $6 billion to $12 billion. At that price tag and that level of service improvement, why not just improve the current rail corridor?
Good question. The current corridor cannot be improved because those tracks are owned by the CN and the CP. So they're basically already congested because the cargo freights are taking all the space. So VIA is doing a fantastic job, but they can't simply increase the services. It cannot be done. So you need to think about something else. And I'm not going to comment at this point in time the estimate cost of this project, because it's just too early. The boundaries of this project are still not known. Of course, there's a corridor between Quebec and Toronto, but there's not sufficient work that have been done to explain or to give a cost estimate at this point in time. One thing that is very important when we look at this also is, what is the cost of not doing it? Today, there's 15 million people in the corridor between Quebec and Toronto. Tomorrow will be 20 million people. So 5 million more people using their cars, or more diesel train, or we will be building more highways and congested segments. My intuition tells me that the cost of not doing it is significantly higher than the cost of doing it, but we will come back in due time with the calendar and cost estimate. We're just not there yet.
And it does point to one key part. You're hoping to have an electrified rail here so that it would be friendlier to the environment.
Absolutely. This project is not about buildings. It's about resolving an issue. It's offering the communities along that corridor a new way to commute long distance, and to change their habit. It has to be frequent, fast, reliable, and environmentally sound. Tomorrow's way to commute will be electric. So this train is to be there for the next 50 years. So of course, the carbon footprint has to be reduced significantly if we want the students of tomorrow to drop their car and jump on the train. That service has to be electric.
Okay, but I'm sure you know very well Ottawa's public transit woes. We have a light rail system here that has broken down several times thanks to lightning, freezing rain, broken axles, the result of which is, broken public trust. And I appreciate that's very different, the kind of rail that an LRT is versus the type of rail that you're looking at. But has your consortium, or rather your organization, looked at the kind of transit money pit that was created in Ottawa by supposedly more reliable, better, more frequent technology, and applied that to what you're dealing with right now?
Oh, absolutely. Taking or obtaining lessons learned from other projects is key when you do project management. I'm not going to comment directly the other project, but I would say three things. The project is structured in a way that we have a dedicated corporation that the only mandate is to develop this project right from the get-go. So we will be involved in all the phases of the project. Second, we will go out and pick the best partners on the private sector to help us develop, build, and operate the services. So we need to find the proper expertise that there are out there, and we will remain the watchdog. Third thing, this project is large. It's 1,000 kilometers. There are way to do the right project management. And one good way to do it is to segment that into, let's say, 10 projects of 100 kilometers. I would even go further and say that it's to segment it by 100 projects of 10 kilometers. That's how I've built large linear project in the past, and that is something that we will apply in this development as well.
Okay, I heard what you said earlier about the population of this corridor, Quebec City to Toronto, and with this rail project, you're looking at stops in Ottawa and Peterborough. But I do wonder why that corridor. The region is already well served by airlines, private bus companies as well. Why not focus on cities and communities that don't have bus service, or where companies like WestJet and Air Canada are reducing or eliminating flights altogether?
Well, the intent is not to abandon communities, but to improve the services. So reaching the largest community is one thing, but also there's a normal corridor, a normal path. When you want to meet Quebec and Montreal, of course, Trois-Rivières becomes an obvious target. And the same thing, going to Toronto, stopping at Peterborough makes a lot of sense, and same thing for Ottawa. So we will optimize that corridor with during the next few years, and how exactly or where exactly the corridors will be remains to be seen. But those stops are mandatory stops. And about the plane, personal experience. I was in Toronto last Friday, and because of a reliability issue, it took me 5 hours to come back to Montreal. Well, with a train that does Montreal, Toronto in 3 hours and a half, not only I would have been faster, but the service would have been much more reliable, and I would have been able to reach home in an expected time. And I missed my window, I can tell you.
But is this the first of many others, do you suspect? Because again, this is a corridor, and I take it new technology, but it's a very well-serviced corridor compared to others in the country.
Well, it's well serviced. Yes and no, in a sense that today there's like 4 million passengers using VIA services, and the demand is growing, but the offer cannot grow. And we expect that in the next 20 years, the offer will be at between 17 and 20 million passengers. So there's basically no other options. And if we don't build that service, those passengers have one choice, is their solo car, and create more congestion on the 401 and 417, or in Quebec on the 20 and the 40. So it's a no-brainer, if you allow me.
Okay. Martin Imbleau, thank you so much for the time tonight.
Thanks for having me.